Okay, this will be a 180 lit. Ready, begin. Mr. President, on a second issue, I want us to talk today of the larger view of the fact downward turn in the U.S. political dialogue and just how it fits the needs of a single American. We have sadly in our time seen this loss in the public dialogue. We are now seeing how its venom can affect the life of a single citizen. I am addressing, of course, the Whitewater search and the actions of one prosecutor, Kenneth Starr. You see, I claim no skill in the question of the Whitewater problem. Indeed, it is not the focus of my remarks this morning, and I hold no brief for either President Clinton or the First Lady as I address this issue. And the injustice of which I speak does not involve anyone in the first family, but rather a simple 42-year-old woman named Susan McDougal. Since March 9, 1996, she has been kept in jail for refusing to talk to a grand jury convened by the state's prosecutor, Kenneth Starr. And yes, under the law, one who refuses to help and speak before a grand jury may be held for a civil contempt of up to 18 months. In this instance, therefore, the independent prosecutor first acted within the law, and that's right. But that is where the problem starts, because looking to the legal history of the code and just within the case law, the purpose of civil contempt and jail is to save testimony through a sanction, not to threaten the witness with jail. But according to briefings filed with the court, the jail conditions that Susan McDougal has endured up to this point sound more like those for a hardened criminal than a person who's jailed for civil contempt. In fact, while serving 3 months' time in the Faulkner County Holding Center, Susan McDougal lived under the following conditions. She did not see the light of day for 3 months. She was jailed in a unit that was built for 10 people, but in reality usually held more than 20. As indicated by these photographs, she was usually shackled both by hands and feet whenever she went to court or to the doctor or to the dentist. This was not normal practice. Indeed, no other prisoner in that facility was shackled by hands and feet in this manner virtually at any time, no less when seeing a doctor. When in transport, marshals were under orders not to remove her shackles at any time, even when going to the restroom. They gave her one visitor per week, and that through glass. She was not allowed family or friendly contact through visitation. She was denied drinking water. She could only drink from a rusty shower or a sink attached to a toilet. She was allowed nothing to read except for the Bible, of which I am sure she would have been grateful, except she was forbidden to have any reading glasses, even when she offered to buy them with her own funds. After a brief stint at the Carswell Federal Medical Center in Fort Worth, where she was placed in a work camp with other women, many of whom were serving 30 and 40 years on drug charges, she was moved to California. There in Los Angeles at the Sybil Brand Institute for Women, she was placed in isolation with one tiny slit in a door, the windows covered with barbed wire with a single peephole where she could see the light of day. She was denied any reading material and was denied a chance to even meet with the prison chaplain. She was later moved to complete isolation from all other prisoners and was allowed out of her cell for 2 hours per day. So for 22 hours a day, she was in complete isolation, no contact with anyone, no ability to see the light of day, with a single window covered with barbed wire, nothing to read, no one to talk to, not even counseling from a minister. During the evening hours, she is awakened every 20 minutes by a flashlight that is placed in her eyes. She is served breakfast at 4:30 in the morning, where she eats alone in a 5-foot cell. If she should leave her cell, she is handcuffed behind her back and is forced to wear prison uniforms that are colored red, which is the color to indicate a murderer or an informant. She is routinely body searched and forced to strip naked for prison officials. She is taken by a guard wherever she goes, including to the doctor or the library. And finally, each time she uses the bath or the few times when she is allowed to use the phone, every other prisoner is forced to be locked into their cells, which has caused much dislike for her and led to dangerous living conditions. Mr. President, I do not know Susan McDougal, and I confess I do not know a great deal about the Whitewater case. I must say I rose today on the Senate floor to speak to neither, but to talk about justice. This is a bad situation that cannot be defended, and that gives rise to the question of whether or not Mr. Starr's investigation is being led by someone who seeks justice or is driven on the personal destruction of individuals to vindicate himself and his own investigation.